Putting Reading First in Maine, Segment 9, Phonics, Research and Assessment.
We know how to spell can. I'm going to expect you, if you see this word in a book, you're not going to have to sound it out anymore. You're going to know what it is.
Phonics is one of the 5 essential elements of effective reading instruction. Research on phonics and the methods of assessing phonics skills provide teachers with a foundation for phonics instruction. Phonics is a set of rules that specify the relationship between the individual sounds or phonemes of spoken language and the letters or graphemes of written language. These relationships are predictable, but not completely consistent in the English language. However, they are predictable enough to be very useful to young children who are learning to decode unfamiliar words.
I took the G away and turned it to a T.
Right.
The phrase alphabetic principle refers to the relationship between letters and their sounds. Children who understand phonics skills can tell you which letters make the first and last sounds in shirts. They can also share discoveries about the similarities and differences between the words shirts and skirts.
Shirts have SH in it and another S.
It does. There's an SH at the beginning of that word and an S at the end. What sound is that SH going to make? Good for you. Yes, very good. And what about the S on the end? Is that going to sound the same?
No.
The S, make the S all by itself. Now make the SH together. Are they the same? No. Do they make 2 different sounds? What's it going to sound like when the SK are together? And what's it going to sound like when the S is by itself? Good job.
Different labels are used to describe phonics, including graphophonic cues or relationships, letter-sound associations or correspondences, sound-symbol correspondences or relationships, and sound spellings. Decoding and encoding are the 2 elements of phonics. To decode, readers translate graphemes or letters into phonemes or sounds, and then blend the phonemes to form words with recognizable meanings.
So add ran.
To encode, readers segment words into sounds while spelling. Words become sight words when the reader has formed a strong connection between the sequence of letters in the word's spelling and the word's pronunciation and meaning as it is stored in the reader's oral vocabulary. In Segment 4, reference is made to the 3 cueing systems that need to be in place for a reader to be effective and efficient. Visual or graphophonic cues come from the reader's knowledge of letters and their sounds. Meaning or semantic cues come from the reader's prior knowledge, including vocabulary and experiences, the storyline, and pictures. Structure of language or syntactic cues are based on the reader's understanding and use of oral language, familiarity with book language, and awareness of the grammatical patterns of English.
Giraffe. Globe.
Phonics is another word for the graphophonic cueing system. Good readers need strong phonics skills. Phonics instruction can support the development of these skills. To be able to make use of letter-sound information, children need to be able to blend sounds together to decode words, and they need to break spoken words into sounds to write words. Instruction in phonics increases accuracy in decoding and word recognition skills, which in turn facilitates fluency and comprehension. Phonics instruction helps all learners, but is especially important for beginning, poor, and at-risk readers. Even good readers spell better with phonics instruction. For phonics instruction to be most effective, it should be explicit and systematic.
Either Zachary or Zach, that CH says the K sound.
The National Reading Panel conducted an evidence-based assessment of the scientific research literature on reading and its implications for reading instruction and published a report teaching children to read. According to the report, systematic explicit phonics instruction is more effective than non-systematic or no phonics instruction. Systematic explicit phonics instruction significantly improves kindergarten and first-grade children's word recognition and spelling, significantly improves children's reading comprehension, is beneficial regardless of the socioeconomic status of students, is particularly beneficial for children who are having difficulty learning to read, is most effective when introduced early, kindergarten or first grade, and should not be the entire reading program for beginning readers. In addition to being aware of the research, assessment should also inform instruction. Administering assessments provides teachers with information about students' strengths and needs. This information can then be used to plan and deliver next steps in instruction. Let's look at a few examples of tools that can be used to assess students' progress in phonics.
Put your finger on the first letter.
The Dibbles assessment includes 2 tasks that focus on phonics: letter naming fluency and nonsense word fluency. Benchmarks have been established on both Dibbles tasks to help teachers determine if students have developed adequate phonics skills.
Here are some letters. Tell me the names of as many letters as you can. When I say begin, start here and go across the page. Point to each letter and tell me the name of that letter. If you come to a letter you don't know, I'll tell it to you. Put your finger on the first letter. Are you ready? Begin.
I don't know that one.
G.
N, E.
Dibbles letter naming fluency is a standardized, individually administered test that provides a measure of risk. The purpose of letter naming fluency is to measure the student's ability to rapidly name uppercase and lowercase letters that are randomly arranged on a piece of paper. Although the letter naming fluency task does not assess students' phonics knowledge per se, the ability to rapidly name letters is a necessary initial step which leads to rapid and automatic word recognition. Students are asked to name as many letters as they can. Students are told if they do not know a letter, they will be told a letter.
P.
The student is allowed 1 minute to produce as many letter names as he or she can, and the score is the number of letters named correctly in 1 minute. Letter naming fluency is typically administered throughout the kindergarten year and at the beginning of first grade. Nonsense word fluency is an assessment task which focuses on the alphabetic principle. The purpose of nonsense word fluency is to measure students' ability to blend the individual sounds of written nonsense words and then orally read the nonsense word.
Well, so I'm going to have you look at this word. It's a make-believe word, and watch me read the word. S-im, sim. I can say the sounds of the letters, s-im, or I can read the whole word, sim. Your turn to read this make-believe word. Read it the best you can. You can make sure you say any of the sounds that you know.
L-ut.
That's right. The sounds are l, ut, or lut.
The nonsense words included in nonsense word fluency either follow the vowel-consonant pattern, like ak, or consonant-vowel-consonant pattern, like mig. The words are randomly arranged on a sheet of paper. It's acceptable for students to either produce the sounds for the individual letters of each word in sequence or read the whole nonsense word. Since students are asked to produce as many letter sounds or words within 1 minute, they are most successful if they read the words as whole words rather than individual letter sounds. The process of reading whole words aligns with what students are asked to do while reading texts. By using non-words, students can be more accurately assessed in their ability to apply their knowledge of the alphabetic principle in order to match letters to sounds to decode unknown words. Nonsense word fluency is typically administered from the middle of kindergarten through the beginning of second grade. By the dashed lines under each letter on the completed scoring report, this student began the nonsense word fluency task by decoding the individual sounds for each of the words. He then shifted to decode each word as a whole, as illustrated by the straight line under each word. Nonsense word test. In addition to the Dibbles, there are other versions of nonsense word tests available for teachers to assess students' ability to apply their knowledge of the alphabetic principle to read nonsense words. This version of the nonsense word test is divided into 5 sections based on the spelling pattern of the words.
Now, Quinn, these are some words, and they are nonsense words. So they're not going to make any sense. I want you to start right up here and I want you to read them to me.
Lat, ped, sped.
The assessment begins with words which include short vowel sounds, then moves into words with digraphs or blends.
Shig.
Next, words with long vowel sounds are included, followed by words with other vowel sounds, such as diphthongs or R-controlled vowels. This version concludes with multisyllabic words. You'll notice the sequence of the sections of this assessment progress from the simplest spelling pattern to more complex patterns.
Pag, bow.
Students are asked to read 10 words from each section. Future instruction for students should be based on sections for which they were unable to read 3 or more words. Core Phonics Survey. The Core Phonics Survey is a tool used to assess a wide variety of phonics skills. It consists of 6 short subtests which reflect different levels of phonics knowledge. Directions are included within each subtest about when to discontinue the section based on the student's performance. The first 2 sections of the Core Phonics Survey ask students to name letters which are randomly arranged on the paper. First, students identify uppercase letters and then lowercase letters.
Kimberly, can you tell me the names of these letters?
D-A-N.
The next 2 sections of this assessment ask students to identify the sounds of letters.
Now, I want you to look at these letters. Can you tell me the sound each of those letters makes?
D. O.
First, students identify the sounds of the consonants and then the vowels. Students are asked to identify the 2 sounds, long and short, which each vowel makes.
Right, great job. You turn
The 5th section of the Core Phonics Survey focuses on word reading. There are 7 subsections for the word reading component. The words in each subsection focus on increasingly more complex spelling patterns.
Sit. Cat. Get.
Students begin by reading 5 real words for each subsection and are then asked to read 5 nonsense words which represent the same spelling pattern.
Fought. Dot. Dit.
The final section of this assessment addresses spelling. Students are asked to identify and write the initial and then final sounds of specific words.
Write the first sounds you hear in the word kid.
Students are also asked to spell and write whole words.
I want you to write the word beg.
The Names Test of Decoding. The Names Test of Decoding was originally developed by Patricia Cunningham. This assessment presents students with a list of first and last names to be decoded.
Now, you get to pretend to be the teacher. And you're going to pretend that these are the names of the students in your class. And I want you to pretend like you're taking attendance. So I want you to read down through the names, just like you're the teacher taking attendance.
Okay.
Okay? Go ahead.
Jay Conway. Tim Cornell. Chuck Hoke.
The purpose of the Names Test of Decoding is to measure students' ability to apply their knowledge of the alphabetic principle and read unknown names. The names included in this assessment are not commonly used names, yet they are fully decodable based on the spelling patterns.
Roberta Slad.
The spelling patterns used represent a sampling of the most common phonics elements. There is also a mixture of long and short names. The results of the names test can be analyzed to determine which spelling patterns are challenging for students. Future instruction can then focus on these challenging patterns. The names test is most appropriate for students who have reached the transitional stage of reading.
Awesome job. You were a great teacher. Are all your students here?
I guess.
At all grade levels, but particularly in kindergarten and the early grades, children are known to vary greatly in the phonics skills they bring to school.
We noticed that a lot of people had A's. That takes about 5 seconds.
Teachers should be able to assess the needs of individual students and tailor instruction to meet specific needs.
IRTS. Good for you. What a
It's critical for teachers to be able to select, optimally integrate, and implement a systematic phonics program within a comprehensive reading program. Research demonstrates that phonics instruction is important. Assessment that can guide instruction ensures that students' needs are met.